So this is not something to be imitated. At this time, he assumed the sannyas title Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj. Bhaktisiddhanta was dedicated to using the printing press as the best medium for large-scale distribution of Krishna consciousness. He thought of the printing press as a brihat mridanga or a big mridanga. While the ordinary mridanga can only be heard for a block or two in kirtan, with the brihat mridanga, brihat means big, the big drum, the printing press, the message of Lord Chaitanya can be spread all over the world. Now, who was it that said, the pen is mightier than the sword? Shakespeare, wasn't it? Is that right, Jayananda? The pen is mightier than the sword? Is that Shakespeare? Yeah. Sorry? And so much value Srila Bhaktisiddhanta put on the printing press that he installed one opposite the deities, so the deities could see this going on. So the whole idea of serving the deities is to bring them pleasure. So to see this, we have kirtan in front of the deities, so he was actually having kirtan through the printing press, printing these books. So such is his deep and broad vision. He knows how to please the Lord. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also excavated Lord Chaitanya's appearance place at the Yogapeeth in Sridham, Mayapur, and built a beautiful Gaudiya temple there, which you can still visit. He established many Gaudiya temples all over India. Does anybody know how many it is? 64. 64 temples. Now we can hardly establish one. You know, we have trouble trying to keep ourselves together, what to speak of establishing 64 temples, and also having like groundbreaking methods for spreading Krishna consciousness. He would hold, just like they used to have these, the British Empire, which was ruling in India at the time, they would have empire exhibitions, you know, where they would show the glories of their empire to everybody. They built halls for it. The Kelvin Hall in Glasgow was built specifically for an empire exhibition. Just like sometimes they build stadiums for the Olympics and World Cup and things like this. So the British were very much keen to spread their glories. But also he had massive pandal festivals. So pandal means where they get these huge tents. And in India, they have tents like you've never seen. You can't imagine. Not only are they huge, but they're so well decorated. It's like a palace. And they'll take like weeks and weeks to put them up, use them for a week, and then take it down again. So the Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he had arranged such exhibition. I can't remember if it was in Delhi, that he had dioramas of changing body and so many different things. And he was also very modern in his thinking. He understood that Vaishnavism can remain some kind of obscure, unknown religion confined to West Bengal and certain places of India. But the world is becoming a global village with intercontinental travel and communication. So he thought for the mission of Lord Chaitanya to spread, then we must adopt the modern methods of travel and communication. Traditionally, a sannyas is not supposed to leave their country, right? They can travel all over the country, but they wouldn't leave the confines of India. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's mood was Lord Chaitanya's mission is to spread to every town and village of the world, not just to India. And this is what Srila Prabhupada, when he met his spiritual master, he was following Gandhi at that time, you know, looking for liberation from the British rule, as were, you know, most Indians at that time. But when he met his spiritual master, he said that this mission of Lord Chaitanya cannot wait for some political adjustment. We cannot wait for the liberation of India. This has to go on. So he immediately told him, take this Krishna consciousness mission and take it to the Western countries. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had already sent a couple of his disciples to London, but they weren't so successful. Bon Maharaj and another one. And I think they made a couple of disciples. You can find there was a couple of old ladies who became disciples. But it wasn't exactly what was envisioned. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati immediately recognized Srila Prabhupada was a good listener. This was his prime qualification, that he said, I've noted that he hears very nicely. And this is his main qualification, that he actually heard. He heard without changing, and he accepted it. He took it to heart, and he put it into practice. This is the success of Srila Prabhupada. He had faith in his spiritual master. Sometimes the spiritual master asks us to do something, we think, well, how can I do this? So don't try to think like that. Just think, spiritual master said it. If I just attempt to do it, Krishna will make it possible. If we don't have that faith, then we're stuck in our limited life. And yeah, if we look at ourselves thinking, well, I can't do that, then that's true. That's okay. We can recognize our limitations, but we can do it by the mercy of Guru and Krishna. If we want the mercy of Guru and Krishna, then we follow their instructions. And Srila Prabhupada did this. He had full faith in his Guru Maharaj, even though he wasn't feeling qualified himself. Then he had full faith in the order of Guru and in the mission of the Lord. So therefore, he put himself in a position when he came to the Western to glorify the Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. We can also glorify his disciple. So he came to the Western shores, Boston, and immediately he was saying, I don't know why you brought me here, but you must have some purpose, so make me dance. I'm a puppet in your hands. So if we have that mood, then the Lord will work wonders through us, and he'll give us the credit as well. Sometimes we're looking for credit, but we don't really want to put ourselves in the hands of the Lord. And when we do it, we realize that actually I could never have done this anyway. This is credit due to the Lord. So this is, Srila Prabhupada's mood was like this too, that when his disciples were glorifying him, he said, actually, this is only possible by the mercy of my Guru Maharaj. He asked me to do this when I was a young man, and it was only at the fag end of my life when I took it up. So immediately he's put himself in a humble position, and he's saying, and he's sent all you wonderful young boys and girls to help me fulfill his order. So he took no credit for himself. So that's a wonderful example that we should be looking, rather than just trying to cash it in as soon as we do the slightest thing. Then Bhaktisiddhanta, he was a very strong preacher. He was a certain type of guru. Does anybody remember the term which was used to describe him? Sima guru. So Sima means lion. He was very, very strong in his preaching. But to the devotees, he was very gentle. If a devotee left, he would take the responsibility himself. Well, why did he leave? What did I do wrong? He was so analytical, thinking, could I have done something to save him? Of course, the living entity has their own free will, and we can't interfere with the free will. So we shouldn't necessarily just blame others that we are not Krishna conscious. Oh, I'm leaving because of you. No, we leave because we choose to. We stay because we choose to. And but he was so humble that he would think like that, because he had, being a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya is anxious for the liberation of the living entities. And when the devotee takes on that anxiety, then he's relieving Lord Chaitanya's anxiety. And this way, one becomes dear to Krishna. So when the devotees go out and preach, they're relieving Lord Chaitanya's anxiety. And this is how they get pleasure from that, because the Lord is pleased with it. As directly we know we're pleasing the Lord. When we're pleased, because he's pleased. So this is why he put so much emphasis on printing books. So he established 64 Gaudiya temples all over India, many of which you can still see. Printed Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavat, Chaitanya Mangal, Prema Bhakti Chandrika, and many other books, magazines, and newspapers on Krishna consciousness. And regarding that, he once asked his devotees to print. They were doing some monthly magazine. He says he wanted them to print it first of all weekly and then daily. And the devotees were saying, "Oh, there's not enough information to do it daily." And he says, if there's enough information to print a mundane newspaper daily, then the spiritual world, there's so much more going on that can be printed at every moment, what to speak of daily. Of course, it would require that everyone had to have that same vision, but he tried to share that vision anyway. He preached fearlessly. So like a lion is the king of the jungle, not afraid of anything. So he was fearless because he was completely in knowledge of Krishna consciousness. It wasn't just faith or belief, but actually complete knowledge. He was defeating the Mayavadis, the impersonalists, and the Kaska Swamis and Smarta Brahmins. So, and all those opposing the pure teachings of Lord Chaitanya. So at that time also many sahajas. Sahajas means someone who gets off the train before it gets to the end of the destination. So say you're going to Edinburgh today on the train. Then if you got off at Haymarket instead of Waverley and you look around and say, where is everybody? I'm supposed to meet and devotees at the train station. You got off too early. They're there doing service, doing sanctum, you're there. So this is what happens. If we get off too early, we become impatient and we just think, okay, let me just jump into this. Somebody's giving Radha Bhav for the price of 4 rounds a day. Okay, I fancy that one, it's a bit cheaper. Let's go, we're getting better, cheapest and best. But no, this is not the authorized path. That we simply, Prabhupada said, work now, samadhi later. If we try to enjoy devotional service, then we're going to miss out later on because it won't be there. So we act in, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said this phrase, don't try to see Krishna, but act in such a way Krishna will see you. And of course, we want Krishna to see us favorably, not that he sees us creating some kind of disturbance or being a nonsense. But we want to act in such a way that Krishna will become attracted, because he's attracted by devotional service. So these Smarta Brahmins, Kaska Swamis, they were attached to their birth. Now, a Kaska Swami is actually a contradiction in terms. Because sometimes you see people with the family name Goswami, Mr. and Mrs. Goswami, and all the little Goswami kids, which is a bit of a joke really, because Goswami means one who's controller of the mind and senses. But this is a kind of like birth. I remember I was doing Sanktan in Coventry some years ago, door to door, and I met this old lady, very nice devotee. Her name was Mrs. Maharaj. And I thought, I won't bother asking her how she got that name, but it's just the name like Maharaj and Goswami, it refers to one who's actually a Goswami or a renounced devotee. It can be to a spiritual master, whether they are a grihasta or sannyasi. Like if your spiritual master is a grihasta, you still call him Maharaj, Guru Maharaj. Spiritual master, position of spiritual master is higher than a sannyasi. So anyway, he ran into some trouble because he was preaching strongly against these people who were monopolizing the hereditary title of being a Brahmin or a Goswami. Just to fool the innocent public, while they actually weren't following anything properly. And even his own Guru Maharaj would criticize these so-called Babas, who they appear to be chanting and they appear to be of great reputation, but secretly at night they're having rendezvous with the widows of Vrindavan. This was going on. So such kind of a show bottle spiritualism never attracts Krishna. So he was preaching pure Krishna consciousness, and anything which was not representing that properly, then he was dissecting that, and they made attempts at killing him on account of this. They tried to kill him, they tried to assassinate him. And one time, I think it was maybe Radha Kundura, and while they were doing some parikram, and these so-called bubbas started throwing rocks at them, and they paid people to go and do that. And but it didn't stop them. And then there was another time where one constable came to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and he said, "They're going to try to kill you. They paid me to turn the other way, but I can't do this. You're such a great saintly person." So his Grihastha disciple was in the room with him, and they changed clothes, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati left, dressed as Grihastha. And in this way, Krishna sent this man along to save him from that. So we can see that although he's a fearless preacher, he also wasn't expecting the Lord to come and just magically divert the rocks to go somewhere else, or someone's going to assassinate him. Just like when Srila Prabhupada was in New York, he was sharing a flat with some young man because basically he had no fixed abode. He was there just at the mercy of Krishna, and someone arranged that he stay with some young man who actually was taking some hallucinogenic drugs, and he came in and he started being quite crazy and dangerous. So Prabhupada just left the room, and then later on someone said to him, "Prabhupada, I thought you just take shelter when Krishna when there's danger." He says, "I did. Krishna says there's danger, leave." So not that we just sit there and expect Krishna to incarnate and come to our service. Krishna's already warning us, okay, this is dangerous, leave. So before his passing away, on January the 1st, 1937, he instructed Srila Prabhupada to become a very good English preacher and to print books whenever he would get money. His last words to the devotees were, "Please accept my blessings to you all, present and absent. Please bear in mind that our sole duty and religion is to spread and propagate service to the Lord and his devotees." I can't quite see that clock. What time is it? Is it 22 or 5 to? 7 minutes to. Okay, so we could speak more about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, but I think we just go through the verse because it is Bhagavatam class. Is there a verse? Okay, I'll just go through it myself. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki. So is it verse 49 or 50? 49. So I'll just go through it myself. Sava ayam brahma mahadvam rigya kaivalya nirvana sukhanubhuti priyasuridva kalu matuleya atmar haniyo vidikrid guruscha. The impersonal Brahman is Krishna himself, because Krishna is the source of the impersonal Brahman. He is the origin of the transcendental bliss sought by great saintly persons, yet he, the Supreme Person, is your most dear friend and constant well-wisher, and is intimately related to you as the son of your maternal uncle. Indeed, he is always like your body and soul. He is worshipable, yet he acts as your servant and sometimes as your spiritual master. Srila Prabhupada's purport. There's always a difference of opinion about the absolute truth. One class of transcendentalists conclude that the absolute truth is impersonal, and another class concludes that the absolute truth is a person. In Bhagavad Gita, the absolute truth is accepted as the Supreme Person. Indeed, that Supreme Person himself, Lord Krishna, instructs in Bhagavad Gita, Brahmano hi pratistaham mata parataram nanyat. The impersonal Brahman is my partial manifestation, and there is no truth superior to me. That same Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, acted as the supreme friend and relative of the Pandavas. And sometimes he even acted as their servant by carrying a letter from the Pandavas to Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana. Because Krishna was the well-wisher of the Pandavas, he also acted as guru by becoming the spiritual master of Arjuna. Arjuna accepted Krishna as his spiritual master, Shishastiham Shadimam Tvam Prapanam, and Krishna sometimes chastised him. For example, the Lord said, Ashochan Amphasochas Tvam Pragya Fadam Chabashase. While speaking line of words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. So in the purport to this in Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada says in the purport that Krishna was indirectly chastising him by saying, you're giving all these reasons, speaking like you're a learned person, as if you know Dharma, but you've forgotten the one thing is that you're not the body and neither are they, and karma is going to act. The Lord also says, Kutas tva kashmalam idam vishami samupashtitam. My dear Arjuna, how have these impurities come upon you? Kutas, that's the word. How have these impurities come upon you? Why is he saying that? Okay, we'll come to that. And such was the intimate relationship between the Pandavas and Krishna. In the same way, a pure devotee of the Lord is always with Krishna through thick and thin. His way of life is Krishna. This is the statement of authority, Sri Narada Muni. Om Agyanatamarandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshun Militam Yana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Bakam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Lagayate Girim Yatkripa Tamaham Vande Shri Girim Dinitaranam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So the verse again. The personal Brahman is Krishna himself. Because Krishna is the source of the impersonal Brahman, he is the origin of the transcendental bliss sought by great saintly persons. Yet he, the Supreme Person, is your most dear friend and constant well-wisher, and is intimately related to you as the son of your maternal uncle. Indeed, he is always like your body and soul. He is worshipable, yet he acts as your servant and sometimes as your spiritual master. So does anybody know any verse from the Ishopanishad which refer to the Lord as being personal and impersonal? Yeah. Text, mantra 15, yeah. Hiranmayena patrena satya shape tamukam tatvam pushan apavrinu satya dharmaya drishtaye. My dear Lord, your real face is covered by your dazzling effulgence. Kindly remove that covering and exhibit yourself to your pure devotee. And there's another one, I think it's mantra 5. Tadejati tanajati tajiri tadvantiki tadantarasya sarvasya tadurva sarvasya bhayataha. The Supreme Lord walks and does not walk. He's far away, but he's very near. He's within everything, and yet he's outside of everything. So here it's been explained that the Lord is personal and impersonal. So sometimes this verse, Brahmanahi Pratistaham, from the Bhagavad Gita, people might, unscrupulous and ill-informed or ill-motivated people might say, oh, see, this is the proof that Krishna is the Brahman. Yeah, he is the Brahman, but Tadejati, Tanajati, he's the Brahman, but he's not the Brahman. It's emanating from him. So it's Krishna himself, but also it's not like it's not the only aspect of Krishna's transcendental nature. This is just the effulgence emanating from him. So just like Krishna says, these separated energies, so they're simultaneously him and not him. And this Brahman is him, but it's also partial realization of him. It's like nowadays, a lot of people they find it difficult to accept God, but they say, oh, the universe arranged this. So it means that they have a natural inclination to see that there is order, there is some arrangement. And this is also considered in the second canto as being God realization in the mode of passion, where they see the universal form, which is an imaginary form, like the trees are the hairs of the body, the rocks are the bones of the universal form, the rivers are the veins, trees are the hairs of the body, yeah. So these different things are there for those in the mode of passion to give some kind of conception of God. And that's good because then they have some conception, but you can take it a stage further and say, okay, so this is material nature, but who set that nature in motion? Laws of nature, who created the laws? Wherever there's a law, there's a lawmaker. If it takes an intelligent person to try to discover a law which is already existing, then there must be intelligence behind the law being made. So therefore, many scientists nowadays, they're concluding with the concept that intelligent design. And this is interesting because many scientists, they started their journey in order to exclude God from the picture. But the more they try to do this, then the more they're actually painting themselves into a corner where they're going to look ridiculous, because the people now understand that a cell, all the innumerable parts which constitute a cell are interdependent. It can't be like a cell developed without certain things. It's like an engine. You can't have an engine running if you take one part out of it. All the parts are interdependent to run, and a cell is much more complicated. They say, of course, this was before the days of mobile phones. They said that one single cell is more complicated than the whole telephone network system of London, which did not come into place by chance. So this is Krishna's devotees, and as we're saying, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, they're strongly preaching this message that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that the Brahman is his the effulgence, is his partial manifestation. So a partial manifestation, and then he says, there's no truth superior to me, mata parataram nanyat. Immediately after saying Brahmanahi pratistaham, that I am the personal Brahman, mata parataram nanyat, and, which is his partial manifestation, and there's no truth superior to me. So he's making it clear. And it's also Ishopanishad that's saying that. And the greatest well-known impersonalist, Sankaracharya himself, said, Bhajagovinda, 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 Mudhamate. He said, just worship Govinda, you fools. Your word jugglery will not save you at the time of death. So the impersonalists, they're very expert at word jugglery, where they can make you believe night is day and day is night. So therefore, Prabhupada very clearly told us, don't read these books, don't hear from these people, because you'll become contaminated, and then your devotional service may be spoiled. Devotional service is such a fine thing, but Maya is so strong. Maya Vadi, the doctrine of Maya, that Krishna's form is not original, eternal form. So Prabhupada clearly instructions, don't hear from impersonalists, and don't hear from those who are not authorized. He specifically warned us, don't hear from those who are outside of ISKCON. He even told devotees, don't go to Radhakund to listen to the Babas. Some of them ignored them, and then they got the devotional service is spoiled because they got confused. If you go to university and your teacher is studying, you're studying under a teacher, and you decide, well, let me just go and listen to another teacher somewhere else or try another subject, then you're going to get confused. So in order to have this single-pointed determination, then we have to very strictly stick on the path without any possibility of anyone deviating us from that path. And this is why Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur preached so strongly and clearly. And when Srila Prabhupada heard him speak, although Prabhupada said that his father was a pure devotee of Krishna, no doubt about that, and even due to his education, then Prabhupada said he could have been a barrister in London. There was an idea from the family for that, but his father never wanted that. His father wanted him to be a devotee. He was always praying, let my son become a great devotee of Radha and Krishna. He encouraged him to do Rath Yatra as a child. He gave him deities. His first memory was taking darshan of his own deities. So, but his father, Gaur Mohan De, used to host many visitors, visiting sannyasis and so-called sadhus, etc. But Prabhupada, he wasn't impressed because he could see that many of them, they weren't actual, genuine. So he was a bit skeptical, but when he met Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, Then immediately his skepticism was blown out, and his comment afterwards, "I've met a very nice saintly person." He didn't want to go. He was cynical. He was like, "No, I've seen so many so-called sadhus." But when he went and he seen him, then he was totally, his life was changed. He knew his life's mission. So this is the situation we're in. We've come in contact with this thing. Don't take any deviation. Don't look elsewhere. We've got the real item. And just go back to Godhead by adhering to this very strictly, very solidly. Okay, I went on a little bit, but I felt it was necessary to speak. Any quick questions or comments? Can you speak up a little bit? Yeah, very good point. Thank you. Today we can pray to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur that this was his desire, that these books spoken by the Lord, written by the Lord's devotees, could go into the hands of the fallen souls. And please send these fallen souls so we can serve you in this manner. You know, it was so important to him. At one point, there was an argument about who should. They built a nice temple, beautiful marble temple, Bag Bazaar. Was this in Calcutta? I think. Wherever it was, anyway. And the devotees were quarreling over which room they should stay in. You know, I want this room, I want that room, and it was such like petty pecking order and stuff. And more interested in material security and self-comforting. And Bhaktisiddhanta, when he heard this, he says, "Better we take the marble off the walls and sell it and use it to print books. If this is if this is what the movement's coming to." So he very much was in the footsteps of his spiritual master, his father, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, to give up all self-comforting and propagate this movement of the Lord. So when the devotees are going out on the street, they're certainly giving up all sense of self-comforting, especially in Scotland. There's not much comfort out there. But the comfort is there that we know that Krishna is pleased. We know that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta is pleased, and you get his blessings to do this. And you just go out and try. That's the main thing. If we try, then whatever we do, we know it's pleasing to them. He was pleased even if the devotee did one magazine, one book. Of course, that doesn't mean to say we go to the lowest thing and say, "Well, good, let me just pop out, do a magazine, come back, and fill it with burfi." No, we don't try to kind of be diplomatic in that way. Diplomacy is the destroyer of devotion. So just simply put, then, this is very dear to the Lord and the Lord's devotee, particularly Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. He foresaw this happening, and it's happening by his desire, and by Srila Prabhupada fulfilling that desire. So we're there to serve their desire. And this way, then we become free from our desires, which trouble us so much. We'll go forward like that. Okay. Anything else? They don't have that same mood. Srila Prabhupada, when he started the movement, he was asking his God brothers to help him, but they didn't offer any assistance. They said, "Oh, first, you can do this here at this mat, and then if there's any funds or anyone to help, we will send you." But he understood that was never going to happen, so he made his own arrangement to do this. He couldn't wait. He'd been given this order by his guru to go and do this. And even when he was in the USA, to begin with, he was asking for help, but nothing was coming. And we can see that this is actually Krishna. Sometimes he will glorify his devotee by giving all credit to him. And at one point when Prabhupada was sick, and this is a very important point that you brought up, at one point when Prabhupada was sick, one of his young disciples, because the movement was only like maybe a year old or less at that time, one of his disciples said, "Oh, should we send for one of your Gurbas to come and take over?" And Prabhupada, he started to cry and he said, "My Guru Maharaj saved me." So he was telling them, and this is the impersonalist thing. It's like, okay, the Guru's helped me, now he's sick, cast him aside, get someone else to come over. So he was showing them that actually you cannot repay the debt to the spiritual master. So he says, no, if you invite someone over and one word is different, the whole thing will be spoiled. Prabhupada knew that. Sometimes he would criticize his god brothers. Later on, he apologized to them, but he criticized them for the sake of establishing the movement, which was that they do not know how to spread Krishna consciousness. And I'll just finish with one quick story. So as Prabhupada was sending these very young experiences, imagine you were a devotee, right, and you've been in the movement a year or two, and then your spiritual master says, okay, now you go become GBC for Africa. There's nothing in Africa at all, and you're going there, maybe with somebody, maybe on your own, and you have to basically go and start the movement there. And they had so much faith in Prabhupada that they did it. They went and did this. So he sent devotees to Japan, and they got kicked out of Japan for whatever reason. And somebody was relishing this, saying to Prabhupada, I see your devotees got kicked out of Japan. Immediately says, at least they got kicked out. What have you done? You've not done anything to further this movement 1 inch. So Prabhupada was very supportive. If you make any effort, then immediately you're under his protection. You're under protection of your guru, the whole Guru Parampara, Krishna. So either we're on the front line serving, or we're dedicated to serving those who are on the front line, and then we're part of the mission. So this whole thing, then, we're working as one unit with the sole pleasure to propagate Krishna consciousness, and this way we can avoid so much kind of petty distractions. Otherwise we are in the material consciousness. So I wasn't planning to go on so late, but I think we benefit by hearing the glories of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. So now we can have Arti to glorify Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati.